Humility. The chapter 22 about Anava. It should be where the flag is. That's what we're up to. That's exactly where we should be up to. It says over here, וכן אמרו ז"ל ביקרא רבה, הרחק ממקומך 2 מקומות ושב עד שיאמרו לך עלה. So we said the famous story of Rabbi Chanan Wasserman, that an enough person is not looking to like sit in the front of the shul. He's not envying for Mizrachvant. Like the Medrash says, he says when you come to shul, you should be low profile. Go stand 2-3 rows back until they, even if you're a great person, they put you in your place. It should be exactly where that is, where that page, because Natan was using that next week. And it says the Gemara in Bava Metzia says, "Kol hamaktin et atzmo," whoever makes himself low profile, he diminishes his honor rather than trying to expound his honor. Al divrei Torah, in order to learn Torah. Guys, by the way, it says in Pirkei Avot, Ezahu chacham, who's a chacham? Somebody that knows Shas, like Rav Chaim Kanievsky or Rav Ovadia Zatzal? No. He says, Halomed mikol adam. Because the whole Torah and Anava, if you look at the Kabbalah, is like two sides of the coin, same coin. A person can only become the ultimate Talmid Chacham that he's so humble, he'll learn even from a kid. He's not embarrassed, you understand? Because he loves the learning so much, and he's willing to... That's what the Gemara in Bava Metzia says, you should, in order... You know, Baruch Hashem, we see in our generation, you have sometimes people like in Israel, there's the Yanuka. They say he's a messianic type of figure. Yeah. So even the biggest Rosh Yeshivas that are 50 years older than him, they come learn from him. That's the Torah way. The Torah is so precious, and the golden highway to Torah is if you're humble. Because if you make yourself in this world, you go learn from somebody like the Yanuka that's even 50 years younger than you, in the next world, it takes a lot of like, wow, I'm a great Rosh Hashiva, why should I go ask this guy? He's like 20 years old. But in Olam Haba, the Gemara in Bava Metzia Daf Pei Hey says they're going to put you on top. Ukeneged ze amru, haser ha-mitznefet v'arem ha'atara. In Yecheskel 21 it says, take off your turban and take off your crown. Kol mishu gadol be'olam hazeh katan be'olam haba. He says everybody that tries to show himself off as a big shot. This is, the antithesis of our Hollywood and Manhattan and show-off culture. One time my Rosh Hashiva, Rav Feldman, said, if you want to know what the Torah wants, you'll be safe if you do everything opposite of the Goyim. Because our values are like the polar opposite. Same thing here. We're living in a Instagram, Facebook thing that everybody wants to project. Oh, I have the Bentley, I have this. But actually, the Yalkut Shimoni brings on the Pasuk in Yecheskel that whoever is a big shot in this world, he's going to be a nobody in the next world, right? The famous Gemara in Bava Basra. Rabbi Yossi passed away for a few moments, and then he said, Olam hafach ra'iti, right? So, I was actually one of my great Rebbeim was here, a Rebbeim of our yeshiva of Shragi Neuberger. I said, what happened? We need to have an art scroll biography about your father, of Naftali, which was... we owe such a depth of gratitude for. He said that some of the brothers don't let us publish it, because he was so discreet and modest in his ways that they said even after his death, after his passing, he wouldn't be happy for us to print all his great actions. You should know, somebody that is truly inside. Guys, Judaism is all about the inside. Because the inside is our neshama, which is the true light of Hashem. So just like we said, somebody that's a show-off and a big shot in this world is going to be a nobody in the next world. Same thing, the opposite. Somebody that is such a tzaddik, but he doesn't show off. He doesn't look for honor. He doesn't look to be bossy. He doesn't look for the attention. In the next world, he's going to be put on a pedestal in the highest echelons of Olam Haba.
If you end up, let's say you buy something flashy, Ferrari, takes away from your Olam Haba.
Yeah, it
really
does.
Mamash.
Maran Achida writes that.
What does he write?
He writes, the more you have ta'avot and luxury in this world, the less you'll have Olam Haba.
What's the connection? Let's say someone is a big tzaddik.
No.
He ends up buying a Ferrari.
No. Let's make something clear here. That's why I wanted to think. See, one thing I learned actually from my Rosh Hashivas, that's Rav Weinberg, he said always we have to compare and contrast our societal values to the modern values, so-called modern values of the Goyim, which were actually barbaric values. They're animalistic values, but it's brought down in Chazal. I'll show you later, actually. I have a whole thing that I got it from the Eitzar HaChochma.
How do you balance that?
No, so that's a perfect question. As much as possible,
I like, let's say, Mercedes 550, top of the line. If I buy that, Chas v'shalom, somebody buys it, it takes away from their Olam Haba, Chas v'shalom.
It's not.
How do you measure something like this?
See, there's a few.
Somebody wants a G-Wagon, for instance.
No, let me explain to you. First of all, there's 3-4 different.
Somebody wants a 10-carat diamond ring.
No, I know. Let me explain to you. First of all, there's a concept brought down. This is part of Jewish ethics, our values, is that neither should you become jealous of others or cause others to become jealous of you. Like the Chida, Maran HaChida, based on the Zohar, says, why did Hevel deserve to die? Even though he was the good brother. Why didn't the mitzvah, every time you do a mitzvah, it's like a guardian angel. It's a shield in front of you. He said because he was happy that his brother got jealous of him. You understand? So we can't be narcissistic and selfish and just think about, you understand, we human beings, inevitably, I always say in my shiurim, out of all the bad midot, why is jealousy one of the 10 commandments? Because it's natural for people to become jealous. So I'm saying, based on what I saw, it's obviously, everything is relative to the norm of your community. If everybody in Beverly Hills has it, then you're not really considered a show-off. I don't know if you're going to lose your Olam Haba. But there comes a point, I don't know if I'm qualified to say the point, but when it goes above and beyond, you chas v'shalom are perhaps cashing in your Olam Haba here because you went over luxury.
Somebody wants to buy
There's a famous Gemara, and I'll bring a proof for you.
Somebody wants to buy a $50,000 Rolex. It happens all the time. 40, 50, it takes away your
I know. It's not my dad. My father's
How
a
do you
Quran
measure something like this? How do you measure something like this?
I don't know. We could talk about it later. I'm not sure. I need to think about it. I can ask my Rebbe. I'm not sure. It's a very good question, though. But you understand what my answer was? A lot of times you also have to realize that it's going to affect the whole society, your friends, your neighborhoods, because it's called Cheshmam Cheshmi. Like the weddings. So a lot of the decisions we have to make is not only thing that matters is me, myself, and I. How's it going to affect the community? It's going to make... I'll tell you one thing the Chavos HaLevavos says. Usually, and one time me and my father were literally crying about this. Usually, 95% of the time, the more you're into Gashmias, materialism, the spirituality goes down. And don't tell me that's not true. And my brother-in-law, which is a tremendous... Your cousin, actually, Rabbi Balanes, which is a tremendous Talmid Chacham, he said that, even in the Shirazi families, per capita, the ones that were the richest, have the least. The richest are the less. None of their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, have anything to do with religion. You understand? So unfortunately, the Chavos HaLevavos, which is one of the earliest of the Rishonim and Bali Musar, say that, but it's. Okay,
you have Yechidim that are very involved, and they have
but they're also not materialistic at all. They're very humble. They're very modest. They don't show off. Wolfson, one of my Talmidim was with Wolfson. He gives $50 million a year to tzedakah. But he's very, again, relative to his net worth, he has a very modest house. Not a
50 million tzedakah?
Yeah. They fund Olami.
They fund Olami.
Yeah. They're one of the biggest givers in the world. So here's the next paragraph in the Mesilat. It says, what's the second aspect? How do you know that you're humble? Savlanus valbanus. Rav Volbe, by the way, in Ali Shor has a whole chapter on this. The Bali Musar of Yisrael Salanter, the Alter of Kelm, talk about this in depth. Because Rashi, when he translates Moshe Anav Mikol Adam, he says, Shafel Ruach, he was low profile, the Savlan, and he was patient. So patient is the greatest of all virtues. And he says, the hallmark, and in the DNA, the meaning of being humble is to be patient. You understand? So if you have no patience, you got a long way to go to get to the crown jewel of all good midot, which is humility. Who does Hashem tolerate his sin? Somebody that relinquishes his rights. Unfortunately, in America, in English, we don't have such a good word for it, but in Farsi we do. Gozasht. Gozasht. He's Mavra al Midaisav. He's...
there's an English term for this.
Yeah, no, it's not exactly that. Rav Mansour, which is probably the biggest Marbitz Torah, has the most shiurim. He relinquishes his rights. He gives up his rights but he says there's a Gemara in Shabbat that says those people that get embarrassed but don't embarrass others, they hear their people curse them out and they don't answer back to create fights about them. It's the pasuk that says in Shoftim, Hashem loves these people because their internal integrity, their internal self-control is like similar to a sun. The sun, that is, because of the sun we have photogenesis and the world we have all of the solar power and all the trees and all the grass grows. A person, it's a famous thing that Rav Chaim Kanievsky, many times when people would come to him for a bracha, he said, no, go find a person that was cursed out in public and didn't respond back and get a bracha from them, because it's based on this Gemara. This person is equal to the sun. He's such a mighty person that he has self-control.
If you get, let's say, embarrassed in your own house, your wife or your husband.
Even that
is considered public?
No, that's a private area. But even that you get major schar for. Rav Dessler has a whole thing in Michtav Eliyahu. The Bali Musar say a lot of times people think that only the biggest, kindest person is the person that helps everybody else out, but not his own wife and kids. No, greatness comes from the house. Cheragi kebe masjid. Whatever, I don't know the rest of it. Anyways, the Gemara says, the Gemara in Nedarim says about Bava ben Buta, one of the great Amoraim. Bava ben Buta went from Babylonia to Israel, and he got married to an Israeli woman. So he was telling her they miscommunicated because they didn't speak each other's language. They had a different dialect of Aramaic. So he said, make me 2 candles, light 2 candles for me, make me this type of meat, make me an onion. So one time she went and she misunderstood him. She went and broke the 2 candles over his head instead of lighting them at the dining room table. So she said, and he was Av Beistin. He was sitting in Beistin, and she broke the 2 candles because that's what his wife thought. So he said, what are you doing? Everybody in the Betin said, well, Baba Ben Buta is the Av Betin. Why are you going and breaking 2 candles over his head? He said, this is what my husband wanted of me. I think she was a Turkish Turku. She was a Turkish Israeli. But anyways, so guess what? Her husband was so patient with his wife, even though in the public she had taken, instead of lighting 2 of the candles on the dining room table, she would have broke it in the middle of his court session on his head. He said, you wanted to do the desire of your husband. I don't believe this was Bava Ben Buta's wife. It was somebody I'm not so familiar with the Gemara, honestly, but what ended up happening is he said the woman was honestly sincere that she broke the two candles on the head of her husband. He said, Inshallah, Hashem should give you, God willing, you should have two kids as Sadiq and as great as me, Baba ben Buta. So I think the way I understand the Gemara, it was Baba ben Buta itself. And obviously, who was the greatest of all Amoraim that has the most stories of his humility? No, Hillel. And we see that he had a unfathomable amount of patience. So we have to understand that in the Torah's dictionary, because humility a lot of times I would say is the most misunderstood of all midot. It means like chas v'shalom, some people think humble people are losers, they don't stand up for their rights, they can't get the job done. Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest leader of all time. But we have to define humility, as Rashi does, and the Ramchal is doing, that humility means patience.
Wow.
So he says that the Gemara in Shabbat, the Bavli Lamed Aleph Amud Bet says a person should always be humble like Hillel. And all the stories it brings there are about Hillel's patience. You understand? And Rabbi Avahu, it says, even in the Talmudic times, Rabbi Avahu was, he said that, I don't call me an Anav, I'm not worthy. Because by the way, I just want to make something clear, we're almost at the end of the Mesilat Yesharim. So this is like a person that perfects his Anava, and there's just another few steps that you basically get to Ruach HaKodesh, the divine thing. So my Rosh Hashiva Zatzal said, one of the ways you know that Judaism is real, and it's not like Chas v'Shalom, these fake Christianity and thing that say, just believe in JC and you see when you learn the Mesilat Yesharim, and Rav Volby told this to one of my Chavrusa's English friends from London, you see that this Anava is a tremendously lofty and in the clouds type of madrega to become a perfect Anav. You understand? It's at the end of the ladder. A few more steps, you're going to have a spark of prophecy, basically. You understand? Because basically, right after this, we just go to Yira, fear of Hashem, and then after that, another step, and then you get to sparkliness. And actually, Rav Volby, when I was learning in the Mir, Baruch Hashem, 25 years ago at the Great Zechut, so there was a guy who was learning Shtark, an hour a day Musar. So, believe it or not, in the 40 days of Elul he finished all of Mesilat Yesharim. So yeah, because a lot of the based, they did this when I was the first year in Ner Yisrael in 95. A lot of times the Bali Musar say that usually Musar you should learn half an hour a day. But Elul, since it's a time that Hashem is judging, you should learn double Musar. So, anyways, this guy went to Rav Volby, and he said, Rebbe, I finished Alei Shor. What's the next sefer I should go to? He said, he said, I finished Mesilat Yesharim in Elul. He said, you have to learn it another 40 times. The 41st time, it's actually going to become practically, you're going to actually act upon it. So we see that all I'm trying to say is that this is a lifetime journey, an investment to become a true Anav. It's not like an on and off switch. Like, that's, by the way, there's a very chashuv Talmud of Rav Wasserman, Rav Simcha Wasserman. He's one of the most chashuv rabbi doctors, psychologists in the world. He actually lives in LA. Rabbi Dr. Fox, he's a Talmud of Rav Simcha Wasserman. He actually said that he was talking to Rav Shlomo Zalman, or his Rebbe, Rav Simcha, which was one of the last people that seen the Chavetz Chaim alive. He's one of the great Gedolim, one of the first Gedolim that actually did Kiruv in LA. He said that this is also one of the reasons for divorce. That people don't have patience, they don't want to work the thing out. It's just like an on and off buddy. They think like, marriage is just like automatically you have to be, because they've seen so many Disney movies, they think it's like happily married after. It's just like on and off button. But just like Anava, it's a lifetime of investment. Again, mamish, working, like the Medrash says, the Zohar says, like Moshe Rabbeinu. What, you think overnight he became an Anav Mikol Adam? That 40 years that he was in the...
He was born like this.
No, there's a Medrash that says that, actually, there's a Mefurish Medrash that says when Bilam saw him, according to Chachman Apartzuf, according to the lines on his forehead and thing, he said this should be the angriest person in the world.
Wow.
No.
I think even...
Midrash.
Yeah, there's a Midrash like that. It's a Mefurish Midrash Rabbah. Moshe Rabbeinu was not born.
Midrash Rabbah? There's a Midrash Rabbah?
Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu had to work a lifetime. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. That Anova is like getting to the hot
Hashem
tip,
was speaking with him.
like
since he was
the
12
spiritual
years
Mount Everest. We're getting to the almost to the pinnacle, to the summit. So, anyways,
old. But Rabbi,
he says. Rabbi, I just want to finish with this. Rabbi Avo said that I first thought I was very humble when I saw Rabbi Avo saw Rabbi Abba from Aku. They got into an argument about the different processes of halacha, of the reasoning. He saw that he didn't care that the other rabbi didn't acknowledge his reasoning, and he said, "Wow, compared to him, I'm not even the league of humility." So Hashem should help us to realize that greatness in the Torah world come. Actually, I have to show you. Maybe one time I'll do a video on this. Rav Hutner, which my Rosh Hashiva Shlita said is the Mechanech Hador. They say out of all the Talmidim of the Alter Slobodka, he was the greatest.
Wow.
He was the one that had the most. He inherited the Alter's koyach to create very great, bring the greatness of his students out. Rav Yitzchak Hutner, Chaim Berlin's Rosh Hashiva, he would say that it's a very fundamental mistake to think that Rav Moshe Feinstein and the Chavetz Chaim, when they came out of their mother's womb, they were just Sadiq Amor. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and you know that this mission is true and meaningful because it takes a lifetime to do, which means it's not just superficial. It's something that you have to put a lifetime of work on to truly get to that. Hashem should help us to become anav, humble, because it's the crown jewel of all midot. Amen.